Hello students, I am going to start another lesson, that is Guptas and Vardhanas, and this is the 8th chapter from the history section. Let us continue. In this lesson we are going to learn about the two important dynasties. First of all, Gupta rulers and their political achievements, their contribution to the literature, science and so many other fields, the famous rulers, expansions, growth of the Gupta Empire. So these are the important aspects regarding the Gupta Empire. We are going to have the discussion. Apart from that one, the growth of the Vardana Dynasty, their contribution to the literature and education, and to the extent of the Gupta Empire in the map of India. So totally in this lesson we are going to learn about the two empire. First of all, Guptas, and another one is Vardhanas. Let us continue. First of all, after the Maurya and Kushana Empire of the Gupta Empire that started to develop, after the collapse of the Maurya Empire, the northern part of India was ruled by the Kushana, and the South India was ruled by Shatavahanas. The both empires they came into an end by the mid of the 3rd century. So in last videos already we have seen how the Maurya Empire they started to rule, who was the famous ruler, how it got expanded, and so many other contribution made by Mauryas and Kushanas. So these are the two important aspects that we have already completed. And after the end of these two greatest empire of India, or first two empires of India, that is Maurya and Kushana, our India started to be ruled by two more dynasties. Next, now let us understand this. Guptas they started to rule our India by the 3rd century, and one more important aspect that they have given, our India was ruled by two different dynasties. So this northern part of India was ruled by Kushanas, and southern part of India was ruled by Shatavahanas. So now we have to understand Kushanas in northern part of India and southern part of India, Shatavahanas they came to an end. Now the rule of the Gupta began. See, when the Kushanas they were ruling this northern part of India, obviously Guptas they were like a feudatory kings of Kushanas. Feudatory kings means these are the small ruler who were under the control of the obviously Kushanas. So because of that reason, the Guptas earlier they were called feudatory ruler of the Kushanas. They were ruling the present Uttar Pradesh and established the base for the vast empire after the decline of the Kushana Empire. And their rule kept on the northern part of India united from especially 335 to 455. So completely they ruled nearly more than 100 years northern part of India. Remember here, when the Kushanas they became weak and their dynasty came into an end, at that time the feudatory ruler of the Kushana, that is Guptas, they started to develop their own empire in northern part of India. So this is how the Guptas they ruled our India after the end of the Kushanas. See here, already we know by the ending years of the 3rd century, that is 275 CE Common Era, at that time our Gupta dynasty started. Obviously the person who was this person that we will come to know. Now let us understand. Sri Gupta was a person who started this dynasty in the year 275. So name of the founder of this Gupta Empire, that is Sri Gupta. He is the founder of this dynasty. They started their rule from the Prayag. Prayag obviously it comes in today's Uttar Pradesh, UP we can say. Now it is named as a Prayagraj. Earlier its name was Allahabad. Okay. But now it has been changed as a Prayagraj. Later Gupta made the Pataliputra as their capital, and Pataliputra remained as a capital of the vast empire. See, these are the important aspects that we should focus on. The Pataliputra was the main capital city of the Gupta Empire, and they started their empire in the year 275. The person who founded this dynasty, obviously Sri Gupta. The earlier when they started their Gupta Empire, they started to rule from Prayag. Then they shifted their capital city from Prayagraj to Pataliputra. We can say the Pataliputra was the main or permanent capital city of the Gupta Empire. And Gupta period is known for various contributions given to the various fields, especially for the religion, art, literature, science, and so many other fields during the Gupta Empire, Gupta period. Because of that reason, we can say the Gupta period is called Gupta Golden Era. Here it is written because they focus more on contribution of art, literature, science, and so many other aspects in the society. Because of that reason, the Gupta period is golden era for Indian history. Now it is time to understand what are the sources of information regarding the Gupta Empire, source of references. First of all, pillar inscription of Allahabad and the pillar inscription of Mehruli. So today also you can go and you can get to see this kind of references, source of information. The Vishaka Datta's Mudra Rakshasa and Devi Chandragupta, Rajasekara's poetic, Kalidasa's literary works. So many books are written by Kalidasa. Even dramas are also written. So these, why? Because obviously the Kalidasa was the poet who was living during the Gupta period. So because of that reason, we can say the Gupta period is having sources in a book which were written by Kalidasas and various other people. Even the pillars, inscription written on the pillars in Allahabad, Mehruli. Today also Mehruli inscription is very very famous, and you will come to know how this is very famous and how the Gupta people, they were technically very strong. Today also this pillar is available, you can get to see. Next come the celebration of Vijiki and writings of Fayan and Itsing. So these are the foreign travelers who came to India, and they had recorded their experience in the book written by themselves. And these are the foreign people, visitors to India. And by studying the books written by two foreign visitors, we can understand how the Gupta Empire was progressing. Now, the famous person or famous ruler began, that is Chandragupta I or first Chandragupta, also we can identify him as a first historical person of the Gupta period. Obviously Sri Gupta was a person who started the Gupta Empire, but he was not that much strong. But Chandragupta first or first Chandragupta, he is first historically strong person, and he married to the Lichavi princess, that is Kumara Devi, and this made him to stronger or strengthen his status and the power of the Gupta Empire in northern part of India. So one important aspect that has been given, so Lichavi, it was small republic located in today's Bihar, and in Lichavi there was a prince got married with the Chandragupta first. As a result of this marital relation with the other empire, especially the republic, that is Lichavi, then finally the strength of the Gupta Empire got expanded. And remember here, earlier his empire was restricted, very small. Now the marital relation has been expanded, especially in the western part of India. This Gupta people, they were having the dominance, but in the case of the eastern part of India, so that here the Lichavi prince or Lichavi kingdom, small or republic, they were having the domination. After getting married with the princess of Lichavi, obviously influence of the Chandragupta first got expanded in the two directions, that is western part of India, obviously eastern part of India. And one more aspect that I should highlight here, so Lichavi is the first republic of the world, remember here. So first republic of world, we can say. Republic, obviously now India is called a republic country. Why? Because leader of India, that is the president of India, is directly, indirectly elected by the people of India through the election. So wherever this system we can get to see, that country is called republic. Means democratic principle was available in Lichavi in 3rd century itself. We can say the foundation for the republic on democracy was laid down, or that can be found in the soil of India, that is especially Lichavi. We can say that obviously India is a country which has given foundation for the democratic development of principles of the democracy. So this is that we should not forget Lichavi, it was the first republic of the world. Chandragupta first is identified as a historical person. Alright, it is finished. After the end of the Chandragupta first, Then his son, that is Samudragupta, became the king of Gupta Empire, and his achievements have been commemorated in Allahabad, precisely written by the Harisana, and this is written in the Sanskrit language and has been inscribed on the Ashoka's pillar. So obviously earlier there were Ashoka pillar which were constructed by obviously Ashoka. On these pillars in a Sanskrit language something has been written specially to remember the achievements made by Samudragupta, son of Chandragupta I. Remember, first of all, Sri Gupta was a founder. Chandragupta I is a famous ruler or first famous ruler of the Gupta Empire, and after the end of this Chandragupta I, his son, that is Samudragupta, became the king of Gupta Empire. Remember here, as far as this Gupta Empire is concerned, the Samudragupta's rule is very very important because he was the strongest person, not only related to Gupta Empire, so that this person has been counted among the strongest ruler of India. First of all, we used to count that is Ashoka. Then second most famous ruler or king of India, obviously Samudragupta. Why? Because their empire got expanded on the four direction India. The most part of the India was under the rule of the Gupta Empire during the rule of Samudragupta. So here you can identify especially northern part of India. And one more thing we should focus on. So why this Gupta Empire and many other Shatavahanas, obviously Shatavahanas, they were ruling the southern part of India. Why they restricted only the northern part of India? Why they couldn't expand their empire to the southern part of India? Because here there were natural barrier. So that there were two rivers, Tapti river and Narmada river. Apart from that one, Vindhya mountain, it separates India into two parts. And this Vindhya mountain and various other mountains, they were like a natural barrier. The person who was ruling, they couldn't attack this southern part of India because there was a wall-like situation which was constructed by the nature, like Vindhya mountain we can say. Next one, Narmada river, Tapti river, they were flowing very speedily, and this area was covered densely forest with. Okay, so because of that reason, ruler of northern part of India, they couldn't proceed towards the southern part of India. They used to restrict their rule in the northern part of India, rather they could go to the western part of India till Afghanistan. This is the speciality. Next one more important aspect, whenever you hear the word that is Samudragupta, he is called the Napoleon of India, because when Napoleon Bonaparte, he was ruling European continent, almost entire the Europe, it was under the control of Napoleon Bonaparte. So that in this manner we can say that Samudragupta, when he was ruling almost all parts of India, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Nepal, Bhutan and many other areas, they were under the control of only one ruler, that is Samudragupta. Because of his vast control on the vast part of India, he has been described as a Napoleon of India. And apart from that one, he is recognized for another reason, that is his Ashwamedha Yaga. It brings to the mind of the Vedic culture and tradition. So Ashwamedha Yaga, it was practiced by the Samudragupta in India. And if you don't know what is meaning of Ashwamedha Yaga, you can ask me the question in our WhatsApp group so that I can reply. Next one, Samudragupta was not just a conqueror, not warrior, but also he was great poet, lover of the music also. And his passion for the music can be seen in his golden coins, which depicts him playing the veena. So remember here, this is the coin which were minted by the Samudragupta, and how he was liking very much to the music, so that his painting, his photo can be seen in the golden coin, which depict that he is playing on veena. So this shows that how he was giving importance for music. Next one, after the end of the first Chandragupta first or Samudragupta, another person, that is Chandragupta II. So he expanded the kingdom of Samudragupta and brought stability. He defeated the Sakas and made the western India as a part of the Gupta Empire. Next, he developed the relationship with many Indian royal families through the marital relation, even through the war. and his reign is memorable for more for encouragement given to the literature art rather than for his battlefield. And famous Sanskrit poet and dramist Kalidasa belonged to this period, means Chandragupta II. When Chandragupta II he was ruling Gupta Empire at that time, this Chandragupta, so that there were Kalidasa who was giving shelter to the Kalidasa. You might you might have heard about the Kalidasa's poem, dramas and all, Shakuntala Devi and all. These are the very famous. Abhignana Shakuntala is one of the noteworthy drama which is written by obviously our Kalidasa. Next one, Gupta Empire was subjected to the continual attack of the Huns and thus soon declined. The Gupta did not have fully equipped large army and the king vessels they could fulfill the requirement during the time of the war. Hence the vessel they had to become the very powerful in India. Now they are saying why the Gupta Empire came into an end. The first of all they have given Gupta Empire, it was subjected to the continual attack of the Huns. Remember, Huns people they used to live in this part of Asian continent. This part Huns, and obviously few people who were living in this middle part of Asian continent. They used to attack from this area. Even Huns also they used to attack. So completely Gupta Empire it was subjected to the attack of various other enemies. And when the rulers of the Gupta Empire they were very weak, they couldn't tackle these enemies. So this made Gupta Empire to decline. Next one, the Gupta did not have the fully equipped large army. So that is also one of the weakness of the Gupta Empire, because of which it has to decline. The king's vessels they could fulfill the requirement during the time of the war. So because that reason, vessels means small ruler who were support of the king, who were nurtured by the king, they are called vassals. So at the time of the war, vassal is to extend their help to the Gupta ruler. So when the vassals they became so much powerful, and when the Gupta ruler became so much weak, and these vassals they did not extend help to the Gupta ruler at the time of the war. So this made Gupta Empire to decline. Next one, the bureaucracy consisted of the Kumar Atmaya, and he had they had various position, and the administration was decentralized. So this is also one of the decentralization of the administration, because power was distributed among the various person. So power was not concentrated in the king. Because of that reason, the king lost the control on the empire. This caused the decline of the Gupta Empire. Now let's understand how administration and social system was existed during the Gupta Empire. The priest class they received the many grants. They would be granted many villages also. Many temples saw the development due to this, and these areas not only enjoyed the financial and administrative concession but also became the independent in all the matters. However, over the period of time, inhabitants, farmers, artisans began to be controlled by landlords. In this way, society grew more and more complex. So this is how the social system was existed during the period of the Gupta Empire. During this period, the trade that Gupta had with the Western people that collapsed, and consequently their economic system suffered a lot, and restrictions imposed on their empire obstructed their internal trade too, and this was limited to the villages. And the collapse of the trade led to the decline of the city centers, and Pataliputra got reduced to the very small area, that is a village. Earlier the Pataliputra, which was a center of the administration, now due to the certain incapable rulers, then this entire area, that is Patna, became so much small in the size, or Pataliputra we can say. Earlier it was now it is called Patna. Earlier it was called obviously Pataliputra. This period witnessed the great heights in the creation of the various devotional and religious texts like Purana and Dharma Shastras. Another important contribution given by this Gupta period, Varahamira, Pakshara, Aryabhatta, Charaka, and Chusitra. So these are the important greatest scientists of that period. Varahamira and Bhaskara Aryabhatta made significant contribution to the study of the astrology, astronomy, and mathematics. Charaka wrote Charaka Samhita. So these are the contribution given by the scientists during the period of the Gupta. And Sushitra wrote Sushanta Samhita, which dealt with the surgery. Gupta Empire, which had flourished for about 2 centuries, disintegrated around for about 6th century CE, Common Era, and many small kingdoms they sprang up at that time. The kingdom of the Vardana was one of the important dynasty. So what they are saying, and after the end of this Gupta Empire, another dynasty in India started to develop in the same part of India, that is Vardana Dynasty. Now let us continue to understand about what Vardhana's contribution, who was the famous ruler, the founder of this Vardana dynasty, so how it got expanded, and what are the causes for the decline of the Vardana dynasty. So these are the important aspects. Let us understand. Here, Vardhanas, they ruled from Taneshwara in the 6th century. Remember here, from 3rd century to 6th century, our India was ruled by another dynasty. Now at the time of the 6th century, this Vardana, they started to rule. Remember here, from 3rd century to 6th century, India was ruled by Guptas, and from 6th century onwards, our entire India, especially the northern part of India, was ruled by Vardana dynasty, another different dynasty, and they started rule from Thaneshwara. Here it is located. Some of the copies of inscription Banas Harshavardhana and the Chinese traveler Huan Sang writing shows the light upon this period. So these are the source of information if you want to study about the Vardana dynasty. Remember Hans Harshavardhana, this is the famous book if you want to understand the Vardana dynasty. So that Hans book, it's very very important. And one more important, Chinese traveler, that is Huan Sang, he came to India, visited, and when Harshavardhana was the king of India, at that time this Chinese traveler came to India and he recorded his experience in his books. Pushapati is a founder of this dynasty. Pashupati was the founder of this dynasty, already we know, and Prabhakar Vardhana and Harshavardhana. So these are the famous ruler of this Vardhana dynasty. And after the death of his father, that is Prabhakar Vardhana, and his brother Rajavardhana and Hans means obviously Harshavardhana, Harsha became the king of Thaneshwara. So finally, in this manner, the kingdom was handed over to the another two people, that is obviously Harshavardhana and his brother. And when the king of the Bengal, Sankala, killed the king of the Kanauj, and Harsha captured the Kanauj and attacked the king of the Bengal. Then finally, when Harshavardhana was ruling India, especially in northern part of India, he used to make attack on the Bengal province. Obviously, in the Bengal, different kingdom was there. When that kingdom was declined, or at the stage of the decline, that empire was captured by Harshavardhana. Bengal and Magadha came under the rule of Harshavardhana gradually, and he couldn't advance beyond the Narmada river in the southern part of India. Already I said you why the ruler of the northern part of India, they couldn't proceed to the southern part of India, because it was divided. Our India was divided by natural barriers like mountain, rivers and all, thick forest. And Kannada king of the Chalukya, that is Pulikesi II, halted his progress and pressed him to go back to his country or his mother area. And the achievement of this Pulikesi has been immortalized in his book written by quote, that is Ravikirti. So let me make you understand how this happened. In this picture you will understand very clearly. In northern part of India, Harshavardhana was ruling, and in southern part of India, so Pulikesi Pulakesi II, he was Kannada ruler, means Karnataka ruler. So that in northern part of India, Harshavardhana was ruling, and here Harshavardhana made a plan to attack even southern part of India or southern state of India, we can say. So at that time, here Narmada river is there, Tapti river and Vindhya mountain also, it is separating India into two equal halves. So when Harshavardhana he was proceeding toward the southern part of India, so Pulakesi II, one of the strongest ruler of the southern part of India or famous ruler of Karnataka, so that war took place on the bank of river, that is Narmada. Finally in this battle, our Pulakesi II, he could defeat Harshavardhana. Obviously we know that the fact, we should not forget the fact that Harshavardhana was very strong in the army, and his war tactics were much superior than that of the our Pulakesi II. But because of the strength shown by the rulers, southern part of India ruler, that is Pulakesi II, and the soldiers of the Pulakesi II, then they could defeat Harshavardhana. So that as a result of this defeat, this Harshavardhana he couldn't come to the southern part of India. Now let us understand how the Vardana administration was carried. Obviously Vardana ruler were the supreme ruler in their kingdom, and the king's rule was assisted by the council of the ministers. Same system what we are having in India, the prime minister and the council of the ministers. The council of the ministers, they used to help to the prime minister to rule the country. In the same manner, the council of the ministers, they used to help to the ruler, that is a king. And apart from that one, bureaucracy consisted of, first of all, negotiator, military general, tax official, bhupati, and duta, means foreign minister, we can say. Foreign minister, they are called as a duta. Today in a different or modern time, we used to call as a foreign minister, but earlier they used to call as a duta. So these are the important, the famous ministers, they used to help the king to rule the country. So this is how administration of the Vardana dynasty was carried on. And the kingdom had been divided into small provinces. Obviously we know that it ruling from a small area entire and controlling the vast empire, it was so much difficult. Because of that reason, then these entire the kingdom, it was divided into small provinces like 1, 2, 3. So that in this manner, then entire the kingdom, it was divided into the small provinces, and in these small provinces, a small ruler was handed over entire the administration, and he is to be loyal to the king. Next one, land tax was the major source of income for the kingdoms. Feudatory chiefs, they used to pay the tribute to the kings, and the kings gave them land grants and return got help of their armies. So this is how the administration was carried. When the king became the weak, the feudatory chiefs, they became independent. So remember this feudatory system, it was existed at the time of ancient India period. Feudatory ruler means obviously the king is the supreme ruler, and he is to place few rulers in their provinces. And now the person who is to look after this small province, they are called as a feudatory kings. When the king became so much weak, and the feudatory small ruler, they used to declare themselves as a independent ruler. So this is what happened with the Vardana dynasty. When Vardana kings, they became weak, the feudatory ruler or chiefs, we can say, who is to look after the small provinces, they declared themselves as an independent ruler. This is how Vardana dynasty declined. And land grants were given to the communities and religious people as well. Harsha gave provinces to the Buddhism, and we get the details of the popular the Buddhism from the Hwensang writing. And the Buddhist Nalanda University was the one of the fully activity oriented university at the time in India during the period of the Vardana dynasty. So remember, please, this is very important. So when the Nalanda University was there, it was nurtured by, obviously it was supported by Vardana dynasty. Now after a couple of years, this was completely destroyed by Muslim rulers. When the Muslim attack took place on India, Muhammad Ghazni, Muhammad Ghori, and Delhi Sultans, they became the king of India. This entire the Nalanda University, it was destroyed. And it is said that how the Nalanda University was famous at the time. The people from China, Europe and other countries, they used to come to India for the education, higher education. So that when the Muslim rule began in India, at that time they set fire on our Nalanda University, and Nalanda University, it is to burn for so many months. So just you can imagine how vast Nalanda University was there. And now one more thing, good news, that this Nalanda University one more time in modern era began. Now you can identify a university called Nalanda University. Obviously this comes in Bihar. Thank you.